So let's get straight to talking crypto with our very special guest. We're joined by CZ, founder and chief executive of Binance. Now founded back in 2017, the company is the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume. Its size and decentralized nature has made it a target of regulatory scrutiny over the past few months in several jurisdictions, including Britain and the U.S. Well, CZ, welcome to Bloomberg TV. Thank you for joining us. When you look, CZ, at some of the regulation challenge that you have out there in various parts of the world, what will happen in China? Given the crackdown that we've seen on financial firms, on tech companies, do you think crypto's next?
I think crypto was there before. So they were cracking down crypto miners before. I don't know what's going to happen next. No one can really predict that. But yeah, I think China no longer a lot of crypto activity going on. Exchanges were out since 2017, and then the miners are out last year or this year. So yeah, I don't think there's a lot of activity going on there.
I mean, for regulation in the U.S., is there anything, CZ, that you're doing to try and get regulators on side? First of all, we know what happened with the infrastructure bill, of course, on the taxes, which was a little bit of a blow to cryptocurrencies. And then we also heard from the SEC chairman recently.
Yeah, I think, when the new regulations come into this industry, I think U.S. is very mature on the crypto regulation part. They're leading now. They have a cryptocurrency exchange listing on NASDAQ, which is very positive. I think as new regulations come in, many of them will be somewhat restrictive, and that's kind of expected. But over time, we do think that regulations will adjust with market demand, and hopefully will get better. I do believe the first iterations of most regulations will be somewhat restrictive. That's what regulations are. And then hopefully it will adjust over time.
I mean, they can be restrictive, but do you think they're unfair?
That's very hard to tell. Like basically, yeah, if you're a crypto miner or if you, that's very unfair. So I think fairness is a very has a perspective to it. But I think what's important is though regulations should really keep in mind of technology innovation. Crypto blockchain is going to be, I believe, is bigger than the internet. So killing innovation in a certain jurisdiction will have very long and far-reaching financial impact, negative financial impact. So hopefully we can avoid that in all the places in the world.
CZ, how much of your time actually do you spend thinking about regulation or how to change Binance so that it's actually seen as positive by regulators?
So now I actually spend most of my time doing that. I would say probably 80% or more. So this is one of the very few top-down driven initiatives in Binance. We're going through a pivot from a technology innovator into a financial services company. So we need to be fully compliant. And I believe right now, all the regulators around the world view crypto as financial instruments, one way or another. They understand it is valuable, it is money, it represents financial transactions. And as a technology startup, we need to pivot into a financial services company. And this type of pivots are very difficult to do. So I'm spending almost all my time on it. And yeah, I'm not really involved in the day-to-day operations of the exchange. I'm really just thinking about executing how to do it.
And so as you go through that pivot or try to go through that pivot, do you have like a number of priorities that you want to get done in a certain amount of time to make sure that you're on track for the pivot?
Sure. I think on top of my head, there's a few different things we have to do. Number one is we have to hire a lot more people. So we need to hire people with a regulatory compliance experience, very senior people that can bring teams in. So we need to significantly continue to increase the size of our compliance legal teams. The second thing is we were shooting for the decentralized organizational structure, which does not work with regulators. For example, when regulators ask us, where's your headquarters? We say, well, we don't have a headquarters. We used to say that. As you can imagine, that causes a lot of problems. People think we're dodgy or stuff like that. So now we're establishing headquarters, proper structure, proper governance, proper audits, etc. Third, most importantly, we need to make sure all of our products are fully compliant, meaning that some of the products are not welcomed or not allowed by regulators in certain places. So this is why we've been limiting our futures derivatives products in most of Europe and some parts of Asia as well. And then we need to apply for licenses, and very important for us to communicate with the regulators, request for regular meetings where we proactively update them on what we do. So there's a number of things going on there. Yeah, so I've been spending all of my time on this mostly.
Cici, do you think Gary Gensler will actually do the right thing when it comes to regulate or how he looks at cryptocurrencies because he seems to know about it and understand it maybe more than other regulators across the world?
Yes, I absolutely think so. I think Gary is one of the most knowledgeable people in the regulator space about crypto. I actually had a very brief interaction chat with him about crypto many years ago, maybe like a few years before he came to office. So I'm fairly confident that he will do the right thing. He understands crypto deeply. One of the things most regulators want to view crypto, at least Bitcoin, as part of their jurisdiction. So the SEC will view many crypto as a security, and the CFTC will generally want to view many crypto as a commodity. That's very natural because crypto has a bit of a property for each. Crypto is like a very new thing, but that has different properties that may fit into both bills. So we have to see how that shapes up. But I think SEC Chairman Gary Gensler is one of the most knowledgeable people about crypto in the regulatory space.
Cici, what about the UK? So there's a fairly big pushback actually from UK regulators. Do you feel like they're at the forefront, certainly when it comes to Europe?
I think Europe generally adopts a more open stance, but my general feeling is the established economies regulators are very reasonable. Regulations do follow innovation, so they will lag a few months, a few years after innovation. But once innovation comes to a certain scale, the regulators will step in. And so far, our interactions with most regulators around the world has been very collaborative. Many of them did issue warnings against Binance, and then we went back, we apologized, and then we said, what do we need to fix? So once we adopt that kind of approach, most of them are very collaborative, and I think most of them are very open-minded. They do come from the traditional space. They always, it's natural to want to regulate crypto the same as traditional financial services. That's okay for the first cut, and over time, hopefully we can evolve and adjust so that we can regulate this new asset class as a new asset class.
Which would look like what exactly, Cici? So because it's a new asset class, I mean, is there a comparable that they should be thinking about?
It's not easy to compare because that's how human thinking works, right? So we want to compare to something that we know. This is why the first generation of cars has levers for steering wheels. They don't have the wheel. But I think this new innovation is much more different from the traditional asset types. We should really ideally regulate it as a new asset type with new regulations, etc. But that's going to take some time. So the humans do well is we borrow from what we know and then we evolve from there.
Yeah. If you become much more mainstream and regulated, and it's a new asset class, is there a danger that actually some people feel alienated because I guess the point of cryptocurrency at the start was not to be mainstream?
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of danger for that. I think as new technologies come in, my mom doesn't really use WhatsApp or chat tools or even Facebook, so she feels a little bit alienated when we try to talk to her using those means. So yeah, there's always a little bit of alienation for the existing players. But for most of people though, they can learn and adapt to cryptocurrency products and services, and they can join this industry. And it's not just an industry; it's a fundamental technology that's going to power the economy in the future. So so hopefully we can help to build those infrastructure services so people don't have to understand crypto to use it. So you don't have to understand how a car engine works to drive a car. So hopefully we can get it to that point where everyone can use it without being alienated.
Well, you're lucky. My mother is on social media, Cici, and let me tell you, she comments on every picture, everything I do and say, also on TV. She's probably commenting on us right now. When you look at some of the efforts, actually, that cryptocurrency had to do with the infrastructure bill and the fact that actually the tax didn't go the way that crypto makers and believers wanted it to be, do you need to just invest a lot more in lobbying Washington?
So I'm not an expert there. I think there are many lobbying organizations and many lobbying firms who do work very hard on that front. And I think U.S. regulations do have a global impact because other regulators typically want to copy or mimic U.S. regulations, given that it's the most mature economy. So yeah, so we don't really have a lot on that front, but we do join industry organizations and try to support them. Yeah, so I think lobbying is important to educate regulators and lawmakers about our industry, and also we can learn from what insights they can take back. So I think that those efforts, I think just a two-way communication is really important at this juncture, given that the regulators are looking intently at this space, the lawmakers are looking at this space, and the industry players are not small. We're still startups, but we're no longer that small, and we need to work. We need to have that two-way conversation and just be very collaborative about it. And hopefully that will really help us to build a better future faster.
Does the current recovery in crypto actually a function of expectations of a Bitcoin ETF coming out soon?
I'm not sure, to be honest. You can never pin one reason. There's so many different things happening in crypto. The fact that Bitcoin price is going back up now, there's probably like, I don't know, 100 different reasons. I actually don't even know which one. All we see is people buying, more people buying than selling.
I mean, do you think we'll see a US ETF anytime soon, actually?
I think we'll see it eventually. I don't know exactly when. So I actually don't follow it that closely, but eventually we'll see one. I hope to see one this year.
But is there danger that actually it makes non-traditional exchanges, if we do have ETFs, an ETF move, does it make exchanges like Binance redundant, or actually, does it become a valid competitor?
I think no. Short term is just because this ETF doesn't there are many different type of users. The guys who use Binance.com right now or Binance US now are the guys who are like sort of in crypto already. They may want to hold their coins. They may buy a certain coin, withdraw to their own wallets, whereas you can't do that with an ETF. Whereas ETFs probably servicing the traditional institutions quite a lot more. So there's definitely some overlapping users, and users may go one way or another. But we're so early in the industry is far from saturated. The penetration of cryptocurrency is probably, general population-wise, probably less than 2%. So having more players offering more products will just make it easier to bring more users into this industry, and then we can all grow. So I don't see that as competition or overlap. I think that's a very positive thing. So I'm really rooting for the ETF to come out.
So you would see someone have an account with Binance and at the same time actually buy a more mainstream Bitcoin ETF?
It's possible. I think the guys who there are some overlaps, but there are guys who who just will only trade on a traditional exchange, and they will trade the ETF. There are guys who will be like, okay, I want to buy a Bitcoin and store in my own wallet, and they will do that. And then there are also many people around different parts of the world that does not have access to to like say a traditional stock exchange, and for them it's actually just easier to buy on Binance.com. So there's different type of users, different type of use cases. On Binance.com, there's also many other products. I don't want to make this like a sales speech, but we have Earn, we have staking, we have a lot of other products that we offer people. So it's not exactly just one simple competition overlap kind of thing. But I think ETFs is hugely positive for crypto industry, and what's good for crypto industry is generally good for Binance.
Zizi, in general, what do you think needs to happen for the market to stabilize or to become a bit more normal? I mean, I asked you about why cryptos have been rising and actually stabilizing a touch, and you said it's very difficult to say, and we feel the same. You kind of sometimes don't really know where the moves come from. So what needs to happen for people to be able to to predict or at least understand some of these price moves?
Sure. I think for it to become more stable, the total market cap just had to get bigger. So right now it's about $2 trillion. When it gets to $100 trillion market cap, then you'll be, I think US dollars is what, 144 trillion total. When you get to that kind of market size, yeah, it's going to be more like a similar stability. You will still have small moves. That's as we see on the FX markets. In terms of predicting which way it's going to go, no one can do that. I think there are people who can, who become very rich because they're very good at trading. Even in traditional markets, in FX markets, in stock markets, there's not one person that can really predict very accurately the price movements of an asset class that's freely traded. It's a mass psychology problem, so it's kind of hard to predict. At least I can't.
Yeah, Zizi, I can't either. Talk to me about hacking. How, are there steps actually to see? I know that you were involved with hacking, and actually the UK authorities, I think, asked you also to try and trace who was behind the hacking. Is hacking your second biggest concern after regulation?
I wouldn't say it's the second biggest one, but we do spend quite a lot of time on helping other people who have been hacked, helping victims, helping people to trace funds if the funds flown through Binance.com. And we do have a very sophisticated risk management prevention program. This is, I would say overall, security is the top priority for any business in crypto, especially for an exchange. So that's probably the most important thing that we do. But we do spend a large amount of time helping other people to track down bad players, including like a hack that happened on DeFi, which is a decentralized on the blockchain kind of project. Has nothing to do with us really, but we do try to help to whenever those kind of big hacks happen. As a large player in this space, we do have quite a lot of information on the user KYC, etc. So if a hacker's not careful leaving those type of information on a centralized exchange, then we can help to track that. So that's how centralized exchange work. But having said that, we don't have the authority to really enforce anything. So we have to work with law enforcement in different jurisdictions, and which we do. So we've been working really hard on that front, and we have got thank you letters from almost every single law enforcement agency in the world.
All right, CZ, thank you so much. I've also been getting hundreds actually, of people with some hard-hitting questions. Where can I get your T-shirt, CZ? So I don't know whether it's something that you can market as future merch, but thank you so much for joining us today, the Chief Executive there and founder of Binance.